नमस्कार। औषध की इस व्याख्यान श्रृंखला में आपका स्वागत है और आज हमारी चर्चा का विषय है कर्नल रामचंद्र राव, जो कि नेताजी के डॉक्टर थे, नेताजी के साथ वियतनाम में मौजूद थे और उसके बाद जो गवाही उन्होंने दी और जो व्यवहार उनके साथ किया गया, the way Colonel Ramchandra Rao was treated. Will you believe that in front of Khosla Commission in 1971, this Colonel Ramchandra Rao, a senior medical officer of Azad Hind Sarkar, Azad Hind Fauj, Netaji's personal physician, was brought in chains before that so-called justice Khosla, because when he was released from the Pakistan jails in January 49, he was arrested again in India and kept in India, in different jails in Bhubaneswar. And what was his fault? His fault was that Netaji did not fly in that plane. Netaji left Saigon by submarine, and that was the treaty meted out to him by the Nehru government in that regard. And to discuss on this issue, we have with us Dr. M.S. Pal, who himself had given evidences in front of Khosla Commission, Justice Mukherjee Commission. Dr. Pal demolished that Japanese doctor theory who had issued that fake certificate of Netaji's death in the name of that Ichikoro. He went to Japan with the Mukherjee Commission to denounce him, and he has a lot of knowledge on these issues. He has seen many of these documents, and in fact, the documents which I mentioned in my book on Colonel Ramchandra Rao's thing were provided to me by Dr. Pal only, which say a different story altogether. So, here we are. Dr. Pal.
Thank you. I did not depose before the Justice Khosla Commission. I deposed before the Justice Mukherjee Commission.
Mukherjee Commission. Okay.
That at the 11th final day of the final discussion or final arguments series, Justice Mukherjee asked me one question. Dr. Pal, you have demolished the plane crash story. I accept that. But you tell me how he escaped it. That need to be placed before this court, because that is our grammar in our legal forum. Okay. When you have demolished one story, you have to place one possible story, plausible story, how he escaped. That time in the final argument in 2005, I gave a story based on available documents.
Okay.
My story was like this. As per the Taiwan file, there was Subhash Chandra Bose and two Indians. I told, see, two Indians, one Indian is Habibur Rahman, played his role in theatre. Other Indian played the role of Subhash Chandra Bose. And Subhash Chandra Bose was kept outside the scene. And that man played the role of the wounded persons. He was painted with deep dark dye, which looks like a 3rd-degree 10% burn. And he was put on a bed. And in the evening, when the sun set, that man disappeared, and a dead body, as per record of the Taiwan government, Ichiro Okura's dead body, which was admitted in the government army hospital on 17th August, was brought here in the bed. And I am showing from the records that Ichiro Okura as admitted on 17th August, one day before the plane crash, that dead body is used. And this is the drama. And you see, these are the documents with Bose, there is now at that time 140 pounds of gold, and in escape any time, gold is very important, vital thing. This was, and Justice Mukherjee was satisfied with my story. But subsequently, I thought that maybe Justice Mukherjee is satisfied, but I am myself not satisfied. Is Saigon is the final theatre? Is Taiwan or Saigon? Because Saigon is the headquarters of the Japanese, where Field Marshal Terauchi is standing. His headquarters with full support to Subhash Chandra for escape. Documents clearly showing they are helping. Though the Nippon government surrendered, because had there been no support, Japan government declared surrender on 14th August midnight, and after this surrender treaty, how the two Japanese army planes helped Bose to go fly from Singapore to Saigon. This is not possible without the help of Japan government.
See, this is again a very absurd thing, even thinking from the Netaji's point of view,
yes,
who has made earlier so many escapes,
yes,
in his life, that he will go to a country which has already surrendered,
yes,
where Americans can land any moment and he'll be arrested there. So that is why, but my question here to you, sir, is that did you brought this Colonel Ramchandra Rao's thing to the notice of Justice Mukherjee?
Yes, that's my thing. Then after the submission of Justice Mukherjee commission, but it was, this question is haunting me. Naturally, I have to go reread against all the files of the related to Sanaj Khan committee and Justice Khosla depositions. Then on second reading, on this deposition of Dr. Ramchandra Rao to the Justice Khosla is revealing, provided it corroborates with the mysterious death of Gorachand Sannal, and in corroboration with the mysterious death of our Air Commodore Mukherjee, mysteriously in Tokyo, and there's that tragedy of that our Indian that freedom fighter and patriot in Saigon, whose house was donated as and used as a headquarter of IN in Saigon. That is that of Pondicherry, that famous man. I will mention the name. These, when the stories are correlated, a bigger history is coming. I will mention the name. What is Dr. Ramchandra Rao deposing? Dr. Ramchandra Rao, son of his parents who were of Pondicherry, born in Singapore, born in 1901, MBBS in Singapore, postgraduate in German Army medical colleges. He was arrested few times in Singapore by the British police. He joined the German army. Then he joined Subhash Bose in 43 in Berlin as a liaison officer in between Subhash Chandra Bose office and the government of Germany. Then this is the man who came to Southeast Asia by a submarine along with Habib Hassan. He is Habib Hassan. In that submarine, not only Subhash Bose, Habib Hassan and Dr. Ramchandra Rao. Habib Hassan, there is personal typist, and Dr. Ram as personal physician. He is coming, and in Southeast Asia, in different parts, he is acting as a personal physician of Subhash Chandra Bose and as special envoy of the government of Azad Hind to Tokyo government at different important times secretly. This is that vital man. And the 11th hour, when Bose in Saigon on August middle, that is 16th, 17th, this time, this Dr. Ramchandra Rao is as a doctor personnel with Netaji.
Well, when I went through his cross-examination before the Khosla Commission,
yes,
there are many very vital things in that.
Yes.
Because he says that the entire escape plan,
yes,
of Bose,
yes,
is made by the Hikari people.
Yes.
They say they even asked for a Japanese pilot to volunteer.
Yes.
And a Japanese pilot volunteers here at Netaji. And then he says that the plane first flew with Bose.
Yes.
Then they were told to leave the airport immediately.
Yes.
And he says that he stayed back at the airport because of some reason. And he found that the plane landed at the other side, which was used by the Japanese Air Force. And Netaji came out. And he even says that Netaji was angry at me, what are you doing here and all. And then he mentions that for 4 days he stayed with Netaji. Netaji's blood pressure was going up.
Yes.
He had no instrument to
Measure
his blood pressure. And then it was the submarine.
Also, the radio, that radio, that is the transmitter was not working, and technicians came to correct it, and the submarine from the Singapore Sea was came to the Saigon Sea. Then he entered and that submarine was a German submarine.
And you see, there are very interesting aspects related.
And moreover, this plane was designed not only by these officers, but by the German officers was there, and Japanese intelligence officers, and Hikari Kikan.
And two things here collaborate these things. One is Dr. Kasliwal mentions.
Yes.
That when he flew from Singapore and all,
yes,
he always kept a small transmitter with him.
Yes.
That is
and that transmitter was not working at the time.
And then all these submarines, you see, which were of the German fleet and the Italian fleet, after their surrender, they were reporting to the Japanese command,
yes,
which were there in the Pacific, or in this regions of Indian Ocean or China Sea and all that, operating there.
Yes.
They were reporting to.
Yes.
Now, he gives another thing also, that the plane when flew again, the pilot was given Netaji's clothes and some items of his.
Yes.
That's what he mentions and all.
Yes.
And then the crucial thing is that when they asked about evidence and all, he says, my all diaries, all papers are with the highest authority.
And also in the deposition, also this corroborate, you see, Gorachand Sannal. Gorachand Sannal, what is he telling? Same story. The Japanese officers has given told that Netaji's last journey not by plane but by submarine, and the big swords which was gifted to
Sanyal was a guard of the Japanese POs in
yes,
Singapore.
yes, and that this Japanese officer handed over 2 big swords which is of Subhash Chandra Netaji to Sanyal, and he brought these 2 swords to Calcutta, and in this plane was our Field Marshal, when you are junior officer, Air Marshal Subrata Mukherjee, and subsequently Subrata Mukherjee's death is very mysterious.
You see, this is what interesting thing is, that anyone who tries to prove Netaji's death,
and you know that how Gorachand Sannal was killed in front of his house.
Sanyal killed, this fellow imprisoned
in chain.
How many? 20 years or something?
More than. And your Field Marshal Subrata Mukherjee mysterious death.
Then
also
this Chitrabrat,
MP. Also that Pondicherry person who was in Saigon, he was very patriotic. His house was used as headquarter of the INA and Provisional Government Azad Hind in Saigon. In his house, Netaji stayed for 4 days.
See,
subsequently,
I was told a very interesting thing by one of the INA soldiers whom I had interviewed for 4 years back in Panchkula.
Yes.
Where he mentioned that when he laughed when I asked him the plane crash, he said that the next day morning we were in a camp in Vietnam.
Yes.
And announcement was made that you come for the Nafri, that is the parade.
Yes, yes.
And whatever way you are, you come.
Yes.
And he said he was in his undergarments early morning.
Yes.
And he ran for that.
Yes.
And he said there Netaji addressed us.
Yes.
And told us the same thing, we are disbanding.
Yes.
To regroup again.
Yes.
So there is no question of his death in the plane crash and all.
And
plane crash things have been gone by. I want to come back to Ramchandra Rao. That he mentions that he was taken to the highest authority by this fellow
in Australia.
No.
That is
Patnaik.
yes.
And Sanjeeva Reddy. And,
And they took away all the island documents, all papers. Yes, yes.
And then he was kept in prison without even trial.
Without trial.
He said 2 jailers were promoted. And I tell you, the recent thing in this is that we tried an RTI in Bhubaneswar jail.
Yes.
To get his records. And I tell you, the kind of hangama was there. The person who put the RTI was asked, why have you put this RTI? He said, no, we are just researching history, trying to find out what about his details and all. And informally they told him that, well, those records got destroyed in 1919, the cyclone in Odisha, you know. So all such evidences
And now,
away.
Yes.
And I want to, if in fact any from our audience can tell us more about this person's, I think he had 2 sons and his family in Andhra somewhere. If they can mention something to us about that.
Dr. Ramchandra Rao.
Dr. Ramchandra Rao.
Of Andhra Pradesh.
We'd like to research more on him.
Yes.
Because such a senior doctor, such a senior person who clearly states that Netaji went by submarine and the person is put behind bars in January 1949. I think the charge is a cycle theft or something, some petty charges put up like
and
that.
And now, by correlations of the mysterious death of Gorachand Sandal and such a treatment by this government to B. Ramchandra Rao, which is with so many post-graduations, and Leon Prachandi, very rich man Indian, a big businessman in Saigon. His house was donated to Subhash Chandra Bose to be used as the INA headquarters. And in his residence, Netaji was for 4 days. This Leon Prachandi was arrested by the French police, treated very badly. He was wounded. Then he was handed over to British police. British police tortured him in such a way, he was neurologically and physically paralyzed, in jail for years, then handed over to India. And paralyzed man died in Pondicherry in the year 1968.
Oh.
Leon Prachandi, whose grandson is now searching why Prachandi was arrested.
So the thing is very clear. If a senior person like Colonel Ramchandra Rao can be given such a treatment for speaking honestly, that Netaji didn't go in the plane and he went
because that story was demolishing all the plane crash stories.
Yes, and he's put behind the bars.
Yes.
And the most interesting thing
government was silencing all voices.
Dr. Paul, I'll say here is a very interesting thing, and that's why I realized that what kind of a Justice Khosla a justice was. You know,
he did nothing.
All evidences which you have on the plane crash theory are only hearsay.
Hearsay.
That you accept as hearsay. But the counter evidences which are coming, that he never left by plane and he went by submarine.
Then to sum up,
they are also here up things. So why can't that also be weighed and
then to sum up the history of this B. Ramchandra and his fate, the fate of Gorachand Sandal was a high officer, British Indian officer to the Far East Asia, and the fate of Air Marshal Subrata Mukherjee and Leon Prachandi fate of Leon Prachandi put together, leading to only one conclusion, that Bose's last journey, Netaji's last journey was not by submarine, not by plane, but by submarine, and not from Taiwan but from Saigon.
Absolutely. Absolutely right.
This is my last.
That's absolutely right. And my main purpose for this lecture was to tell our younger generation that how badly our freedom fighters were treated, that a person, Colonel Ramchandra Rao, who is speaking the truth about Netaji's disappearance, is put to jail for 20 years
without trial.
Any trial, and he comes in handcuffs before the Khosla Commission.
In 1971.
Shame on those rulers.
And next fate we do not know.
Thank you.
Thank you.